All right. Well, maybe I can do the standing. Okay. Well, welcome to Stats 131, Python and other technologies for data analysis. This is the third time, and every time, so I taught it last spring. That was the first time ever, and then I taught it in the fall, and then I'm teaching it now. And I feel like every time I'm learning, and it's different each time. We're trying to make a good class. So anyway, it's gone through a lot of changes. And is everybody here a senior? Everyone's graduating this quarter? All right, congratulations, all of you. Okay, so I hope you guys are excited for this class. I hope you guys are excited to graduate and I don't know, do whatever comes next. Work, grad school, take a year off, travel, anything. But anyway, so this is us, Python, and so I guess we'll take a look at the syllabus. It's a good place to start, first day. Oh, welcome back to school, everybody. Hope you had a good spring break. And anyway, this is what we're doing. And I don't know, learning outcomes, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So we're going to start off this week with Git, and then we'll start to get into Python. And there's a lot of stuff to do with Python. We got Python, and we got NumPy, and Pandas. And Pandas is probably going to be kind of our main, one of the main tools you'll use as far as data science, data analysis stuff goes. Okay, and then we'll look at making plots and doing SQL and scikit-learn and stuff like that. There's only so much I can squeeze into a 10-week class, okay? And so I will not be able to take you from 0 to pro, okay? And just like anything else in life, you're gonna get out of the class what you put in, okay? And coding, it's a coding class, okay? Coding requires you to practice and learn. It's a lot like learning a foreign language, okay? I don't know if you've ever tried to learn a foreign language, but doing 10 minutes a day of Duolingo is not going to teach you Spanish, right? You have to kind of immerse yourself and use it frequently. And same thing with Python, okay? You've probably been forced to use R frequently enough that you're pretty good with R stuff. And when now you want to pick up Python, if you want to become proficient by the end of this course, you've got to kind of force yourself to use Python as much as you can, okay? It's probably too early for you to try to do Python for DataFest, which is this weekend, but if it was an option, I would have pushed you guys to do that. But it's something you gotta, if you really want to learn it, you've got to push yourself to use it, okay? But anyway, let's talk about grading stuff. Okay. So this has gone through changes, okay, and this is what I've decided for this quarter. It might be different for next quarter, okay. All right, so earlier I only had data camp homework, and one of the feedbacks that I received a lot was students wanted real homework assignments, like the kinds I gave in 102A and stuff like that, and you guys are groaning now. And so that's what I've decided to do is we're going to have a mix of data camp homework and actual homework assignments. I have to figure out exactly how many homework assignments and kind of the scope of these homework assignments. So that's in the works. But you'll also have data camp, okay? And I sent out invitations to data camp. And I think a lot of you have accepted them. And let's see. a lot of you have accepted your invitations, but some of you have not. 52 members. Okay, so please accept it. The thing is so DataCamp is giving us these premium membership things for free, okay, which is really nice. Kind of the deal there that is I'm only giving them to the students who are enrolled in the course, and I used the roster, the UCLA roster, that list of emails, okay? So you have to kind of use that email address to accept the DataCamp invitation, and you might already have a DataCamp account with a different email. You're going to have to just create a new one using the email address that is on the UCLA roster, okay? Because that's the invitation, that's the email address that got invited, okay? All right, let's see. We will have a midterm exam. It's going to be a take-home exam, and it's going to be on Friday of 7th week, okay? And it goes from 3 to 5 p.m., right? So you guys have this class from 3 to 3:50, and I'm assuming most of you have the hour from 4 to 5 o'clock free. If that's not the case, let me know right away to kind of set up some alternative arrangements here. But we're going to do 3 to 5 p.m. It's going to be take home, so just stay home or go someplace where it'll be quiet and you can work on an exam in an exam-like testing environment, okay? And you'll have 2 hours to do it. And I think it makes a little bit more sense for a class that's structured this way. So, okay. There's a bunch of software. We're going to primarily use Anaconda Python, but you're going to use Git this week and stuff like that. These are going to be kind of our textbooks that we use. They are available for free as long as you are on the UCLA network, okay? And you have to read them in your browser. You can spend the money and get the physical copy, but they're like 50 or 60 bucks each. So it's nice going to a university like UCLA where you have huge digital library access, okay? There's actually, and UC is really big on library and open access, and they got into a war with Elsevier, this publisher. I don't know if you guys know about this. So, okay, well, it doesn't matter. Okay, but basically they didn't renew their contract with Elsevier, which is a publisher of journals, and we've lost access to it. But that's because they're kind of fighting for open access. So. Okay, so on DataCamp, all right, I've created a few assignments, and I'm going to have to figure out exactly how many assignments. So one of the feedbacks I got in previous quarters was that I had too many DataCamp assignments to complete, so I'll have to kind of scale those back, and they wanted less DataCamp and more traditional homework. So I've got to kind of figure this out, and I'm hoping we can figure something out. But anyway, the way DataCamp does its stuff is that I've created an assignment. So this first one is Introduction to Git for Data Science, and oh, sorry, I don't mean to be calling anybody out there, but right now 5 students have completed it. I'm fully expecting that most of you have not, and the due date is basically this Friday at 6 p.m. Okay, April 5th. 6 p.m. You should be able to, if you do like one chapter a day, each chapter probably takes between 30 minutes to an hour. You do one chapter a day, you'll complete it. Intro to Python is also a fairly simple introduction to Python that 8 of you have completed, and you have to complete it by this due date. And if you do that, you'll get you'll go in the green column. Okay. If you complete it after that, you'll go in the yellow column, and if you have not completed it, you will remain in the red, okay? And DataCamp doesn't offer any kind of flexibility on this, okay? And so I can't have like this sliding thing where it's like if you're only like 1 hour late, you only lose this much. It's basically DataCamp says you either finished it by the deadline or you didn't, okay? So make sure you finish by the deadline. And so this is how do it is that I'll go through, and if you finished it, if you're in green, you'll get full credit. If you're in yellow, you'll get 70 points, and if you're in red, you'll get 0, okay? Because red is for anybody who just didn't attempt, or even if you get to like 80% done, if you don't complete it, it still shows up as red, which is unfortunate. You have to complete the thing, okay? So, because if you've done nothing versus 80% but just didn't finish, you show up in red. So make sure you complete everything, okay? And so that's going to be data camp. As far as homework goes, we're not using R, so we're using Python, and there'll be these files called IPython notebooks, IPyNB, and I'll post those. And similarly to, I think most of you have had me as a teacher, you're going to download the file, you're going to put in your answers, and then you're going to basically render it as an HTML. It's a little bit different. In the Jupyter Notebook, basically after you've entered all of your answers, you're kind of running the things as you work and making modifications. But at the very end, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to do restart and run all, and that's going to just kind of wipe everything out clean and then run all of your things, and it should run without any kind of errors and things like that. And then at the end, you'll do file, download as HTML, and then you'll upload your HTML to CCLE, okay? I'm still working on writing these homework assignments, so so wait for that. As always, make sure you all of your results that are supposed to print are visible, and then kind of my 5 points per hour late policy for homework applies here, okay? So that's what we will have there. We're also going to have a final project, okay? And so what you will need to do is you're going to need to establish a group, 4 students, okay? 4 students to group. So we've got 80 students enrolled, so we should have 20 groups, okay? And you guys are all going to work on some kind of final project together, and I will release details there, okay? And basically, we will do final project group presentations. I will have you guys schedule those during 10th week, okay? And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you guys schedule just with me, a 40-minute presentation, okay? Each group will present. I don't expect you guys to be talking for the full 40 minutes, okay? I expect your presentation to be about 5 minutes long, actually, 5 to 10 minutes. And then the remaining 30 minutes will be me asking you questions about your project, making sure that all of the decisions you made are reasonable, and I'm gonna ask you why you chose this and that, okay? So I'm gonna come across as a little critical and harsh, okay? But we'll talk about the final projects, okay? You're gonna write up a report, you're gonna submit the reports, do a presentation, 5 to 10 minutes, and then the remaining time will be me asking questions. And I'll give you your grade on your final project at the end of those 40 minutes, okay? And so that will come later, okay? But you'll wanna start thinking about who you wanna be and who you want to work with in your group. Probably this week, and then by next week I'll have you guys tell me who your groups are. A couple weeks later I'll have you establish what you will do for your project, and so on and so forth. Okay. As far as the grading goes, I'm going to do attendance and campus wire, okay? But they will be extra credit, okay? So if you come and you do you'll get attendance for coming, or attendance, and that will add up to 2% total of extra credit, and 1% extra credit for campus wire participation. I'm going to use the online poll as before if you've taken one of my classes, and regarding the attendance, if I take the online poll attendance and then and you respond, but you're not actually here when I do a physical roll call, you'll get 0 extra credit, okay? No, you're not going to get any extra credit there. And then regarding Campus Wire, it's like Piazza, but a different company, and they've offered, they've talked about different features and stuff like that. So I will, I'll post a link to that on CCLE, and you can join CampusWire, and that will be available for kind of discussions and things like that. Okay, and CampusWire has different kind of level ups, and basically you can either if you achieve Red Bird, which is their intermediate status, you'll get a full point, 1 percentage point of extra credit. Okay, all right, a bunch of resources for any kind of stuff there, and anyway, you can take a look at the syllabus. Are there any questions? No? All right. Okay, then so yes, this week, make sure, I would say after class, make sure you log in to Data Camp, open up that invitation link. You should have received it, I don't know, sometime during spring break. Go through your emails and check for that, and then start working on the Data Camp assignment for Introduction to Git. Okay, and so so that is what we will start with. Okay, so we're going to start off with Git and GitHub. Does anyone already have GitHub? GitHub account and a repository? Okay, so I got like 1, 2, 3. Okay, maybe about 5 or 6 of you. Okay, and then do you guys use the command line, or how do you guys upload to your GitHubs? Just direct upload?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's fine. Okay. We're gonna. I'm gonna try to teach you how to use Git from the command line. I feel like that's what people use most in industry. I don't think they do. I mean, the web interface is fine and all, but we're gonna start there. Okay. So yeah. So start with the Data Camp Git training, and then I guess once you are sort of comfortable, just basically go ahead and tonight open a Git account with a GitHub. Okay. This is going to be part of your first homework assignment anyway. Is that you got to create an account and repository on GitHub, and then and all of this. Okay, so what you're going to need is you're going to need to download the Git client. Okay, so Git. So I have to kind of explain a little bit about this. Git is this technology that keeps track of changes. It's a version control system. And the idea is that I don't know if you've ever worked on a paper, and you start off writing like term paper, and then you call it draft version, and then you later on you make some changes, and then like you work on it and you go term paper final version, and then you, I don't know, email it off or something, and then somebody comes back and says, okay, maybe you should make some changes, and you're like term paper final version 2. Final version, final, I don't know. And you have all these copies and kind of ridiculous things as you've made changes to the paper, okay? And if you're only working by yourself and you only have like one file that you're trying to keep track of, it's okay. It's not ideal, but it's okay to call this, term paper final version, really the final one or whatever, and keep track of it in this slightly odd way. But if you start working on any kind of team, okay, if you work with other people, which is probably going to be every single job unless you're a freelancer, okay, but if you work with other people, then having this weird naming system is just not going to cut it, okay? And so Git is kind of seems to be the one that is well liked, and this is how it keeps track of different versions, and how it keeps track of changes made to the files so that you can undo changes, you can merge changes from different people. If there's a problem, you can blame somebody for the issues and things like that, okay? And meanwhile, GitHub is a service that I guess is now owned by Microsoft, but it's a service that hosts repositories, okay? Hosts these folders online where you can upload your code and upload your stuff, and other people can work together. Okay, so it's kind of like it's like a cloud server where that uses the Git technology. Okay, so what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to download Git for your own computer. Okay, so you go to Git and then you just click download whatever it is for your Windows machine. It'll probably recognize that you're on a Mac or whatever. Okay, and you'll download it like that, and then I don't actually need it. Okay, and then you're going to install that. And then over here on GitHub, you'll create an account, and then probably the one thing that you'll want to do is you'll want to create a repository. Okay, and so a repository is a place where you're going to store the stuff, and so I'm going to create one for this class, 2019 Spring Stats 131. Okay, and this will be I'll call this the public repository for Stats 131 Spring Quarter 2019 at UCLA. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that. We'll make it public. You can do private if you don't want anybody to see. Okay, but this is something that is available for you guys, and this is where I'm going to be posting all of the class notes. So I'm not going to upload stuff to CCLE. Okay, they will be pushed to this repository, and you can go to the repository to kind of download the class notes. That's how we're going to do it. Okay, and I'll go ahead and I'll initialize this with a README. I'm not going to do a git ignore because I will do that as part of, I guess, demonstrating how this will go. Okay, so here is the repository as it appears on GitHub, and then what I will want to do is so on GitHub you can do it via the web interface, and you can upload files and drag and drop and do stuff like that. Okay, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a local copy of this repository. Okay, and I'm going to create this in my teaching folder for 131, and I'm going to clone this repository on my machine. Okay, let me see if I've got a diagram of how this okay, sorry. So the idea is this repository exists online. Okay, this is called the remote repository, and on my local computer I'm going to create a clone of this. Okay, and so here is kind of the address that I need to use. Okay, and what I will do is once you've installed Git onto your machine, you can either run the terminal and use Git, okay, or for me I can open a Git bash terminal here. Okay, and don't just kind of watch what I do. Basically I'm going to call git clone, and I'm going to paste the address that that is provided here. Okay, and so when I do this, this will clone the remote repository onto my local machine, okay? And so now, I don't know, what it has done is it has created this folder that says 2019 Spring Stats 131, okay? And this is a clone of the remote repository, okay? So you've got the remote repository that kind of exists in the internet, in the cloud, and what I've done is I've cloned that so it exists on my machine. And now that it's on my local computer, I can make changes, okay? And I can add files, make changes, do stuff to here. And this is my local repository. And what I have to do is I have to commit the changes to my local repository, okay? And so Git is this very, it allows you to make changes and stuff. But then if you want to actually save the changes, what you do is you say you're going to commit. You're committing the changes to the repository. And every time you do a commit, what Git does is it basically takes a snapshot of the repository at that moment in time so that at any other point in the future, you can roll back to this current version, okay? And so you edit your term paper, you edit whatever you're doing, you commit those changes and it creates a snapshot. If I do that, it is going to update my local repository. If I want the changes I've made in my local repository to then be made public in the cloud in the remote repository, I have to do a git push to push those changes, okay? Does that kind of make sense? So you've got a remote repository. What I would recommend is you create a remote repository on GitHub, and then and on your local machine, you clone that thing, you make changes to it, you commit those changes, and then you push those changes back up to the cloud, okay? And that's kind of the process that you will go through. And so I just kind of want to show you what this looks like. So here I've done cloning, and it says remote, and it's downloaded all of this stuff, okay? And so now I'm going to change directories into 2019 Spring 131, okay? And when I switch into this directory, on my thing it says master, okay? And this means that Git recognizes that this is an active repository, and it is currently what's known as the master branch, okay? Because the idea is, if you are working on software, you're going, and you are, let's say you want to add a feature to your software, right? Let's say you've got some app that you've got on the, I don't know, App Store or whatever, okay? And it's open source, so it's on GitHub. You have the master version, and that's the one that's currently actively available and people can download. But let's say you want to add a feature, right? And while you're adding features and you're testing out code, things aren't going to be working quite right, okay? You probably break things as you're trying to add features and modify stuff. So the idea is that you don't want to modify the actual product that people are downloading right now, okay? So instead of working on the master branch, okay, you create a separate branch, which is basically a copy of the repository that allows you to kind of mess with the changes and things like that. And then once you get it working to a point that you like, then you merge those changes back, okay? And so that's kind of the, that's what this GitHub workflow illustrates, is that this top bar up here represents the master branch, which is always going to be kind of production-ready code that that you are okay with being released to the public, which is full of users who do silly things and try to break your code and stuff. Not break your code, but just do silly things, and they encounter errors. And if they encounter an error, they're going to give you a 1-star review on the App Store. And so that's not okay. This has to be code. This has to be a version of the product that is 100% okay, right? And then, but as you make changes and add features and whatever, right? You're working on the new version of the app. You create a branch, you add commits and you say, I've made a change here and this one is so far so good. We add that, you keep doing things and you fix things up. And then once you're happy, you have people who discuss and kind of say like, all right, these are the good changes. Once everything's good, then you do what's called a pull request or merge request, and you merge them back into the master branch, okay? But right now I'm like the only one working on this. It's fine for me to work directly on master, okay? But oftentimes if you're working on anything with other people, you're going to create separate branches, work on them, and then merge them back. Okay, so anyway, here's my folder, 2019 Spring Stats 131. I can do ls to say what's in there. Right now it just has readme.md, a markdown file, and I can open this using the Nano text editor, okay? And right now it just says public repository. So this is what I've written, and then this is just markdown. So I can just say like I don't know. I'll do instructor Miles Chen and email Miles Chen at stat.ucla.edu, and I don't know. Office hours, I forget what I wrote. I think I wrote Wednesdays at 2 to 2:50 p.m. or something like that. Okay. So we'll go ahead and I will do this. And I'm going to just hit Control, I think Control O to write out. Okay. We're going to save it to readme.md. I'm going to exit. Okay. And so this is currently what I have. And you can see that if here, I've done this, I can open it with like Notepad, whoops. And we can see I have actually saved these changes, okay? So these are stuff that's going on here, but if I ask for git status here, if I ask what's the status of the repository, it's going to say these changes, the readme.markdown file has been modified, but these are not reflected in the repository. So what I need to do is I need to say I want to actually commit these changes to the repository, all right? And there's a two-stage process, okay? One is we do git add, okay? And git add dot will add all of the changes, okay? So git add dot will add all of the changes, and I can ask for git status, okay? And it says these changes are ready to be made, okay? And I can commit them, okay? Or I could just say git reset, okay? And it says these are I've undone the kind of the staging, okay? But I'll go ahead and I'll just stage these changes. So we're going to do git add, and we can say they're ready to be commit. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do git commit. And when you commit, you have to include a message. And here I'm going to just say modified the README file. Okay, so you have to include a message that describes what kind of change you have committed. Okay, so if I do that, now my change has been committed to the repository, and I can ask for git status, and the git status says nothing to commit working tree clean on branch master, but it also says your branch is ahead of origin master by 1 commit, okay? Which means that my local repository has been, a change has been committed to it, but this commit has not been made on GitHub, okay? So this is the remote repository, and this is kind of where everything exists. And so if I want to then push this to my remote repository, I have to do a git push, okay? So if I refresh this, right now it looks exactly the same. My readme.md file is doesn't have the new information I've put on there, and so now if I want to make it public, I would run git push, okay? And I type in git push, and it says blah, 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 and it does this, and now it's done. And if I check for git status, then it will say on branch master, your branch is up to date with origin master. There's nothing to commit, working tree clean. And if I refresh this, okay, we can see that it now has my information that I've just added. Okay, now it might feel like this is a lot of work, right? You're just used to just making changes and saving stuff on your local machine. But once I think it's important to kind of get used to this Git workflow because my understanding is that it is used quite frequently in industry, and on a lot of open source projects and things like that use Git, and it's a good thing to be familiar with. Okay, so there's a few things though that I have to talk about. Okay, is that when you've create your account, if you want to be able to use the command line, and I've included a bunch of links here. Okay, you're going to have to create an SSH key and add an SSH key to your account. Okay, because I don't want you guys writing to my repository, and likewise, you don't want strangers on the internet writing to your repository. So to kind of make sure that these changes are coming from an authorized device, you need this SSH key. Okay, and so what you will do is in your account, you'll go to settings, and you'll come over here to SSH and GPG keys. And you're going to choose something like new SSH key, right? So you're going to click new SSH key, and you're going to enter in kind of the all of your RSA tokens there, okay? And so and you need to do this for every machine that you use that writes to the repository, right? So I have my laptop here, the Surface Book, okay, and then and I also have a computer at home, and it looks like I haven't used that to write to the repository for 5 months or whatever, but that's here, okay? And these are the fingerprints. This is not something you can use to hack or my thing. These are publicly available. So anyway, these are you have to create this. There is a good document here on generating the SSH key, okay? And you'll just kind of follow these instructions where you're gonna type in SSH keygen, all of this stuff with your email address and stuff like that, and just follow these instructions to kind of make sure that you can add to post to your repository on GitHub. Okay. So here we're going to do 2019 spring stats, and you can kind of see the commits that have been made. Okay, and here we have the initial commit, and then now we've modified the README file and things like that. Okay. So let me just kind of show you a little bit more. So again, I'm going to be posting all of my notes and stuff onto here. And so if you want to kind of download the notes and have a local repository of your own, you can clone this repository. Okay, that's one option. However, if you clone the repository, you will not have the ability to write back to my repository, right? Because that's only something that I have the ability to do. And so if you make changes to the local file, right? Like you've downloaded one of my notebooks and you want to kind of make some changes, personal notes and things like that, and you try to, and then let's say I've added more notes to my repository, and if you want to download those, it's going to create a problem because it's going to see that you've made changes, so you've committed changes that are now, quote, in advance of my repository, and now I've also made additional changes, and so we're out of sync. Okay, so what you will want to probably do is instead, let me see if I could log in on an alternate account. Okay, I guess Firefox has to update itself. What you're probably going to want to do is you're going to want to fork. Okay, you're going to want to fork my repository. Okay, and forking a repository will then take my repository and create. I know there's all these terminology, right? But you're going to create a copy of it called a fork. All right, so I'm going to go to GitHub over here, and I think over here I'm signed in with my alter ego, Redshirt Prof. Okay, and what we're gonna go to my main thing, Smiles Chen, and I need to go. I have to search under repositories. I need 2019 Spring Stats 131, which is currently this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Fork over here. I click Fork, and what this does is it creates a copy in my thing. Okay, Redshirt Prof 2019 Spring Stats 131. Okay, and this is forked from Smiles Chen 2019 Spring Stats 131. Okay, and so right now this is a copy, and this allows me to make changes to my my thing, and then what you'll want to do is you'll want to read this article on synchronizing a fork, okay, which requires you to, if you go through the, I think this will make a little bit more sense. If you go through the DataCamp Git tutorial, you're going to have to set up your repository to have a few different remotes assigned to it. Okay, so the origin. So let's say so I'm the original owner, right? So you're going to set the origin to be you, all right? And you created a fork of this, okay? And so that when you do a git fetch and a git push and git pull and all of that stuff to kind of synchronize your changes on your local machine, it will happen with your forked version, okay? But then you also set another remote repository called an upstream repository. And what that will do is it will kind of create a link between your fork and my original one, so that when I update my original one, it will be able to synchronize those changes to your fork. Does that kind of make sense? What's happening? I know it's all of this remote repository nonsense here. But this will, by running it this way, you should be able to get all of the latest notes from the course, okay? And you should be able to synchronize them, also make your own personal changes to them, and see them as well, okay? We'll have a few exercises dealing with Git. I strongly recommend that you start working through the DataCamp Git assignment, okay, or Git course as part of your first homework assignment. That will be due on Friday anyway. So work through that, and we'll discuss Git a little bit more in the coming days, and I hope all of this will kind of make sense and you'll get to a level of comfort, okay? Because I think having kind of a GitHub with code and stuff and notebooks that you have written is a big sell these days when applying for jobs or graduate school, if you can have a showcase of what you have done. Okay, are there any questions? All right, I know I've kind of shown a lot of stuff here, and I'll try to demonstrate some more on Wednesday. Okay, so we'll see you guys then.